road safety expert, back again for another Q&A video. Thank you very much for sending in your questions. I really love answering the questions. This is my favorite part of the job, researching and finding out the information. I love it, and I love being able to put it onto this video and knowing that people are tuning in and watching and becoming a little bit safer and that little bit more empowered and that little bit more informed. So please keep sending your questions. We'll answer them. And another request, as always, we are very close to 100 subscribers, so please hit that button. Let's get it to 100. It'll be awesome if we can get there. Our aim is 1,000 subscribers, but let's go for the first milestone of 100 since we're only about 2 or 3 away from that. Hit that button that looks like this, and let's get on board, and we'll give you more and more content and information as we go along. But into our question for today. So today's question comes from one of our training partners, a wonderful company down in Victoria called Hi4Baby. They have a national chain of hirers that hire out baby equipment and also baby seats and do some baby seat fittings, and we work with them when we train their network. So big shout out to Charlie and the team there, and they've sent me through a question on that in regards to child restraint fittings. So what they've asked is, have been asked the question, we have a Toyota Hilux Extra Cab. So that is and I'll put a link to what an extra cab looks like below, but basically it is a vehicle which it's got a single cab ute with one door, and then you either open a second part of the small door, they call it a suicide door, it sort of opens up like that, and you've got a small seating position in the back. So it's not a 4-door, it's a 2-door with a little sort of flap that opens out sometimes, and you can get into the back and you can sit into the back, but it's not a full seating position, they're little micro seats. And so basically it's called an extra cab or space cab. There's different versions of that on the market, king cab. And generally speaking, all of them have the same kind of rules to this question. So that's why I thought I'd answer this question. Whilst it's related to this person's Toyota Hilux, you can also apply this to all the other brands. So what is asked is, can I put an untethered booster in here for my 5-year-old client? And there is no anchor points in this car. I have heard somewhere that because of the smaller size seats, because the dicky seats in the back, they call them dicky seats or little sort of compact seats in the back of the Hilux, because of that size seat, I'm not allowed to fit seats in there or child restraints in there. So please clarify this for me. So when you go into the Toyota Hilux Extra Cab Owner's Manual, it specifically states there is no child restraint points in the Extra Cab model, and as a result of that, you can't fit child restraints in there. Right? Because you need a child restraint, you need a tether to hook a child restraint on. So in that respect, we need that. However, if your child restraint does not need a tether, like for example an untethered booster seat, then it's irrelevant. You can put them there, right? You can put them there because they don't need a tether. So this owner's manual, which does say that, because we've heard this through the industry, which does talk about that, it's specifically talking about tethered child restraints. It's saying, because we don't have an anchor point, you can't put a tethered child restraint on there. Now, the other question that's come up is around the size of the seat, and can my baby seat sit on a really small seat? Now, this always comes down to the instructions of the child restraint. Always check the instructions of the child restraint and make sure there is no specific requirement for a certain portion of the base to be seated on the seat, right? Our general rule of thumb is if there is no requirement, or if there is no thing that's stated by the manufacturer of the child restraint, then you can have as long as more than half of the base is sitting on the seat, then you're okay. All right? So, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a child restraint up, and I'm going to show you what we're talking about with respect to that. So if I grab my seat over here, and if I pretend that this is a car seat, right? And then I get my child seat from over here, and I want to fit this onto my car seat. So we pretend that this is, let's say, the back seat of the Toyota Extra Cab. So in this case, you can see that this thing is not overhanging, or I'll try and move this back a little bit so you can see. So this base of the seat, what we're talking about, it doesn't overhang, so it doesn't stick out. So that's fine. Now, in the micro seats on the back of the dicky seats of the extra cabs, sometimes you might find that they stick out like that, or they might even stick out even further. And then that's what we're talking about. How much is it allowed to stick out? It is allowed to stick out no more than halfway. So in this seat, any more than that, if it's sticking out, it's probably not going to be safe, and we wouldn't recommend fitting it at all. So that's basically our general rule of thumb. If there is no guidelines on the manufacturer's restraint. Some restraints will say this has to be fully covered by a seat, or it can't be any more than 20% or something like that, right? So make sure you check those instructions. If they are okay, follow those instructions, and they're prescriptive, follow them. If they don't have instructions, then basically you just go by the 50% rule, all right? So hopefully that helps. Thank you very much for your question. As I said before, please send in more questions, and I'm looking around for my subscribe pillow, and here it is. So I'll just grab that again. Once again, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you on board. We're almost at 100 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000, but let's get to 100 first, and then the next step, we'll think about that one. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.